All right, ladies and gentlemen, so as per the agenda, we are scheduled to have a fireside chat on colors, Bangla cinema, driving content narrative in Bangla cinema space. However, due to certain reasons, this session has been pushed forward. So we will be going ahead with the next one, which is going to be another interesting and the first exciting fireside chat. We move forward to the panel discussion of the day. The topic for the moment is going to be decoding media spends in modern era. I'll repeat the topic of panel discussion for you all once again, and in the meantime, I'll request my friends over here to please set up the chairs and the tables for the panel discussion. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the topic for the moment is decoding media spends in modern era. I'll be introducing our moderator and speakers, and after all the introductions are done, I'll request all of them to please kindly join me over here on stage. Thank you. So today we have with us for this session Mahesh Motwani, Executive VP, Initiative Media India, and he'll be joined on stage by Sarfraz Akhter, Senior Media Manager, ITC Limited, Samrat Sengupta, AVP, Brand Building Marketing, UltraTech Cement, Shantanu Banerjee, General Manager, Marcom Dollar Industries Limited, Aanton Mookherjee, Chief Idea Advisor, YUWEUS, Shuchi Singhal, AVP-Media, Emami Group. Can I please have all of you give them a huge round of applause, everybody, over here. Thank you. I'll request all of them to please. And he'll be joined on stage by Sarfraz Akhter, Senior Media Manager, ITC Limited. Some wonderful stalwarts over here as they join us for the first panel discussion of IWM Buzz Media Summit 2024.
Hello. A very good morning to the esteemed panelists. It's the first time I am on the other side of the table because being from a media agency, I have been questioned by the clients on terms of how I have decided on the media spend. So it gives me a little bit of pleasure and a lot of learning from them how they decide the media budget as compared to how we look at it. So a very warm welcome to everyone. Okay. In our days, I go back to the days when Alec Padamsee created the Lateral campaign. The creative was so overpowering that we just used to show it to everyone and they used to buy Lateral. Those were the easy days. You had a Mahabharat, you had a Bunyad, you could reach everyone. But today everyone has got their own choice of, you can say, media, the choice of program, whether you watch OTT, whether you want to watch it on YouTube, whether you want to watch TV. Planning has become much more difficult. We have got on our panel two set of clients, one from ITC, one from Emami, which are into FMCG. And for them, the consumer is very important. We have Shantanu from Dollar. He will tell us how important the consumer is to him, but it's a little bit of a mass product in terms of innerwear and fashion. We have Samrat from UltraTech, for whom maybe the retail and trade could be more important and the individual house builder. And we have Aanton, who is giving us solutions in terms of what solutions the brand requires. So I think a very, very diverse panel. And I would like to leave the question open to whoever wants to answer it first. How has their life changed from the time that we used to put all the money on TV and we used to say, okay, we have a little bit money left for print, a little bit for radio. So the planning was on what money there is balance. Now the planning happens on what the brand wants to do. That comes foremost, and then the media is chosen. You know, what is the media that they want to go with. And since the consumer comes first and not the media, it's the other way around. I will ask maybe Shuchi from Emami to tell us how she plans the media budget and to decode the same for us. Shuchi, over to you.
Okay, good morning everyone. Thanks for having me here. And I think I'll just pick up, from... It's on, right? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll just pick up from, what you started. You started with a little ad, and I think one of the reasons it was successful was simply because of the content, right? The creative was just hugely overpowering. And I think in today's time, we put in a lot more focus on media and not so much on the creative itself. Enough studies, it's about 30% of the media impact and 70% of the creative. So we definitely need to be talking far more about it. Also because what is happening is the consumer is where the content is, right? Even in terms of consuming it. There was a time when television probably had enough interesting content for them to watch it. One of the reasons the shift has happened to digital is because they probably get far more interesting content, on the various platforms that exist today of their choice. Anurag spoke about the, regional media being strong, because I do think that they are probably giving better content, than the national media. And so therefore, it is, as an industry itself, I think, as while television continues to be important, and for us, especially with the kind of products and brands that we have, which are Bharat first, and therefore the masses are very important. Television does continue to be very, very important. The efficiencies that you get, the mass reach that you get from that medium is still unparalleled. And therefore, when we look at a media mix, it would be naive to say that there is an equation out there and you just kind of fit it into that equation and everything is going to be great. So it is all about, okay, what are these geographies or what are the audiences that I cannot reach from television? And therefore, how do I plug those gaps with the other media? And, of course, digital largely, but it could also be radio, or it could also be print, dependent on what your objectives are at that point in time, and what is it that you're trying to get the consumer to react to. So there's no one solution fits all. I think otherwise I won't have a job. And so it's what we try really and look at it is again from a perspective of, if reach is my primary objective, then how do we balance between television and digital? For some brands, which are, let's say, luxury brands, where television may not be really the right medium because you're really looking at very niche pockets, then that's when digital becomes your primary medium, even for reach. The other thing I think is, again, because both television and digital have a very high reach, so obviously and people only have that amount of finite time in a day, right, to consume whatever they're consuming. So what is happening is, I am watching television, but I'm also scrolling through the endless feed on my phone. Attention is divided. The attention spans, in fact, are even getting shorter. Enough studies around that as well. Another piece of fact is, I think we scroll around 100 feet of data in a day, which is huge. So it is more and more important. Creative actually becomes more and more important because you have to break through that clutter. From a media perspective, frequency becomes important. You have to be able to get the same attention that you were getting 5 years back. You need to have at least twice the amount of frequency to get the same attention, because the people aren't really paying attention. So how to say it, where to say it, to be able to get that right mix between television and digital becomes important. Thankfully, I think what the place we are at right now is that you can, if you invest enough, there are enough measurement models that can also actually help you attribute your success to what is working and what is not working so great, and you need to change it. So that itself, I think, is what will drive it forward. And that's what I would say.
Sarfraz, since you are on the same category, would you like to?
Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy and excited to be part of this panel discussion. And I would like to actually begin by saying that we have over-pampered the audience or the consumers. Okay, there were days when my parents used to remember that everyone in the locality and every one of us would sit and watch Nukkad, okay, or Bunyad. I was not part of that circle, but I would certainly remember days when people used to watch Super Hit Muqable and Zaban Sambhal Ke together. Okay, so and today, believe you me, that when I sit in front of TV, okay, my connected TV, on a weekend, I really struggle what to watch. Okay, the first 5 minutes, I really scroll if I don't have anything pre-decided what to watch, because there are plethora of options today. I mean, you are really over-pampered. Now, that's coming from media fragmentation. It's not just TV, okay? Even if you see print or digital or any other media, okay? Even outdoor as a matter has become more fragmented, okay? They were outdoors only on roads. Now, even in apartments, in front of your lift, there are small screens. What is it? It's actually a shorter version of outdoor, right? So I believe it's the media fragmentation that the whole journey of consumer has changed. Okay, whether it is a typical FMCG or whether any other client, I would say it's a difficult job for any category today, because ultimately the attention span is same, whether you are targeting them for a hosiery brand or a cement brand or a beauty care brand, right? So, and as we all know that attention is, for a human being, is even less than a goldfish, okay? Hence, the challenge becomes more. So, it's actually, I would say, a double sword thing, okay? On one hand, media, okay, along with the powerful content, okay? The powerful content is, from a marketer perspective, it's an ad, okay, what we create. So it has to be a dovetail between both of them so that the journey becomes easy and we want to tap whom we want to tap, okay? I just want to give you a very simple example. A friend of mine is from Dehradun, okay? So visiting to Calcutta or Bombay, coconut water is a luxury for them. It's a new thing, okay? So in front of a Nariyal Pani wala, he was standing, and the Nariyal Pani wala gave him offer. Pani wala chahiye ya patla malai wala chahiye ya malai wala chahiye, okay? So he was amused. Then I told him ki aap pani wala do, okay? So in his typical fashion, the Nariyal wala tapped few of the coconuts and gave one to him, okay? And my friend consumed the product, okay? And he was amazed that it was a complete water-filled coconut. So for us marketer, I think the learning is that we need to be the coconut wala. We need to know our product in and out so that we tap our customers very aptly, okay? We know that this is the product, okay? This is the USP. If not the USP, then what separate experience can I give to that consumer?
So what your conversations, Sarfraz, are leading then to, your influencer marketing, loyalty programs, creating events for them, experiential marketing. So I think the next speaker naturally should be Aanton to tell us how he creates that experience for all his brands and clients, And is it successful or not successful is something we would like him to elaborate on, And I believe his business is growing, more and more clients are coming to him, so it is definitely successful. But let us hear it from him.
Okay, firstly, a very good morning to all of you, and thank you for this wonderful session that we're doing today. We're talking about media, but then of course I come from directly the opposite side, which would say that, spend a lot of money in creative, forget about media for the time being, and that's what we go and say the client. But it wasn't the same always. When we came into advertising maybe 20, 25 years ago, we used to work as a full service agency, right? Where the media team and the creative team would sit together with a brief, and we would make a strategy where media and creative would work hand in hand. And then sometime during the journey, the media team decided, no, we want to run the show by ourselves. And therefore they started off as a media agency. And then the media was bought first, and then the brief came, TV ad banana hai, ye socho. You know, that's how it, you know, it went forward. Today we are again coming back to that space. And I believe that as, you know, as brand managers, as media managers, as media agencies and ad agencies, we all need to collaborate. Because, as he said, the consumer is the king, and of course the content is the hero today. And, you know, the way we approach work here is that there are so many media touch points that have happened. Yes, in front of the lift, of course, is one, and then so many new things are happening. But if you really look at a consumer, they are behaving very differently to each of these touch points. So when you're looking at a hoarding, you're driving a car, so of course your behavior is different. When you're going inside a lift, we understand that you're going home, so your behavior is different. Now I just can't have one content and showing it the same thing across everywhere. So we need to think how therefore we get into the journey of this consumer. So I'll give you an example. I think last month or maybe earlier this month, I was at a place called Joshimot. And Joshimot is of course in the hills wherever I was staying, it didn't have too much of network. So my phone was not there and I couldn't just scroll through my Insta or couldn't catch up a movie. In the evening I was sitting. So I found out, you know, there was a television in the hotel room, so I switched it on and it was that old cable channels coming up, and it was such nostalgia that I could, you know, I could switch and I could see. I didn't have to think before seeing. Today I have to think, kya dekhna hai, and I don't know what to see. But then I was switching and I finally saw Surya Vansham. That's a different thing. But the point is that joy of watching something, you know, where I am very comfortable, is what becomes the background of all content that we have to create today. That you are comfortable as a consumer in consuming what content is being given to you. And those are the options that we look for. So whenever we talk to the media team, we try and figure out that, yes, you give me a media point, very good. Tell me what is the consumer doing there. You know, if there is a hoarding in a shopping space, so we understand that there is a consumer going there to shop. If it's inside a restaurant, there's a tent cart there, we need to think about how would the consumer react to a communication there. So can we look at such customized solutions when it comes to, you know, consumers? And of course the third thing, the importance of experience, right? And events like this, and there are so many events happening which end up becoming content again for digital. We look at telling our clients that you need to look at very niche events. Like say for an example, you know, I have the IP of doing one of the biggest quiz festivals here in Calcutta. Now why quiz festivals work in Calcutta? Because Calcutta is a place which is the mecca of quizzing. So we do the Kolkata International Quiz Festival, 13th year going every January, and we have people from all over the country coming here, and even from outside. And brands are interested to be part of that because people are behaving very differently there, right? And therefore, you know, they get, and it's again, the kind of people you see, they would be there in most of the other events. But here they are behaving differently. Even if I look at celebrities who come there for a quiz, they are very happy to be part of a quiz. And they are looking at interacting with brands who are into this space of knowledge and everything, right? So we look at opportunities in terms, you know, when you talk about media, we look at media touch points and how consumer behave there. And therefore we look at content, we look at solutions. So we go, you know, as I started off, we are going back to the space where we sit along with the media team, we sit along with the clients and we say that, look, you know, let's do it together. Let's think strategically. Let's put the strategy in place first and then get into execution, and just not come up with a brief saying, ki, I need to make a TV ad. You know, we also need to understand why. And is it only about the budget or reach and everything? That's fine. But how is the consumer doing that? What are they doing?
A lot of advertisers are thinking what they want to do with the brands, first finding solutions to those, making budgets for those, and then coming to other forms of advertising. Do you find that true?
I think, you know, whenever the brands come over and tell us that, look, we are going through, or this is the brief or something like that, we go deeper into that brief and we ask them, tell us a problem statement. And of course, there's a business problem there somewhere. Either you're looking at sales, you're looking at growth. For startups, it's a very different scenario altogether. So we will understand that problem first, and then we come across and discuss on what are the areas in which it can be taken care of. it's more like being a doctor, right? And you need to give them the right medicines. You just can't give a blanket medicine to everyone.
So I think I'll pass the mic to Samrat, because he's got a very unique category in terms of cement. So there are individual home builders that buy only once in their lifetime, and then there are multiple purchases by the real estate, then there's a trade. So how do you allocate your budget, Samrat? How do you look at it? Means is brand building important to you, or giving a sort of an experience to the consumer important to you, or building the trade and distribution important to you? How do you plan your media budgets?
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for having me here. First of all, I'd like to echo the thoughts shared by three of my panelists. Like, I think all of them spoke about having limited attention and media abundance at this point of time. So, yeah, you absolutely, I think, bang on saying that many people actually confuse that for a category like cement, we generally operate a B2B segment, but it's not that way. So primarily still 80-85% of the country is still into individual home building, right? And so our consumers are the individual home builders at large. So our media strategy is kind of targeted towards them. Typically male, 25 to 55 years. Those are the guys who actually take the decision for home building and all. And more so, obviously, it's like once in a lifetime thing, maybe once or twice, right? And hence, the window of touch basing with your consumer is absolutely, like, you have to do it with precision, right? And hence, our focus, when we balance it out, it's not more towards ROI or not more towards innovation, but more towards brand building. Because that is eventually going to impact our category at large, because people in this category are absolutely confused. They don't know, because that's a journey they're possibly going to embark once in a lifetime, and they don't have any clue about. It's not like brushing your teeth, like you do it every month with close-up, and one fine day you can change it to Colgate, right? So this is one opportunity you have, and people are confused. People do look at a lot of recommendations by experts, a lot of validation from people who have already tasted that category. And from the media front, obviously, they resort a lot to all forms of media, but mostly TV is currently working for us. And our major allocation has been around TV. For other forms of media, we generally, obviously, it helps us in when we get into targeted marketing, we generally have digital in place. Mostly print, radio, and others would add to our integrated campaigns. Whenever we are kind of operating an integrated campaign to reach out to our set of consumers, we resort to them. You also understand that we operate a very longer sales cycle, and hence it's important that in terms of reach, recency, and impact, we maintain a perfect balance. And so I've seen many companies who are operating in this category. They're not very consistent throughout the year, but I think as a company, as UltraTech, we extremely consistent in terms of maintaining our presence across the media throughout the year, and that's very important, because you would possibly find many of the companies coming at the fag end of the year, third or fourth quarter, when generally people do embark on a home building journey, but these are long-term. There's a long-term business objective, right? And if you look at the strategy sphere, which actually starts, as Aanton was mentioning, it has to be like the business strategy followed by the brand strategy, then the creative, and then media. It can't be the other way around, right? And that's very important. We follow that as well. But if I look at media, obviously our allocation has been majorly around television, and all the other, even outdoor plays a very important role, because in many of our places where our production facilities are not there, many companies are into localized advertising, and they cannot afford to spend in television. They resort a lot into outdoor. That's it. Thanks.
You mentioned two very important points, always on strategy. I'll come back to that. That's a very important point. We find many brands getting off from the cyclical advertising and lowering the frequency, lowering the reach, and being always on. And a brand like yours can be always on because you are 80 to 90% of the category spends. If I look at a 100 crore category, I think UltraTech would be around 80 crores to 90 crores, or if not more, you know. So you leave very little room for others to advertise at all. But I'll come to Shantanu. He is from a category which I don't know. He can tell us better whether he makes what we like or we should like what he makes, because their creative is always very, very different. So I'll leave it to Shantanu to tell and how he does his media planning, allocation, because I don't know whether he is chasing consumers or consumers are chasing the brand, you know.
Hi everyone. It's a wonderful pleasure to share the stage with such a stalwart. The way he started with Bunyad and Humlog, I'm sure there are many in the hall who have not heard about. Let me tell you, he is from an era when we were kids. Events like these were less in Calcutta, and we tried to find out opportunities, you know, just to get in touch with seniors like them. And if you at all get an opportunity to get closer to them, sir, I'm so and so, sir, yaad rakhiye, if anything comes up, thoda dekh lijiyega. So that's what
But now we are
Mr.
pitching for your
Motwani is.
business.
3 decades, ladies and gentlemen, heading such a show, and we are all kids. He's actually bullying us. Can I have a huge round of applause for Mr. Mahesh Motwani?
No, are you asking for the applause because I'm bullying you?
No. Actually, he has all the answers. That's why I told you. Well, coming to your question, sir, honestly, I feel, as I had seen your role, you started saying that it was easier to put ads on TV in Bunyad, Humlog, Chitrahar, Chitramala, and Super Hit Mukabla. Right now, media planner or a strategist is, I find, is like a class teacher in kindergarten school. Oil spoils brats, 35 or 40 odd in number. Everyone behaving very differently, unpredictable every day, and you have to really, you know, tame them. You have to be very sharp in addressing them. That's what is happening, because television nowadays, as we began, it was easier when we started also 20 years back, when so many channels started coming in. But right now, if in my category, it's a very, we spend heavily on news channels all through. It's not only my brand, but the competitors. If I'm talking about a particular leading news channel like Aaj Tak, it was easier 7-8 years back, you know, to advertise only on Aaj Tak. Now you have to be allocating budgets on smart TV, their app, their web portal. So it's not only TV, it's also getting diverted a lot. Forget about different platforms, but if it's only TV channel, you have to be very sharp in who's watching which platform. That is very critical. It's always challenging. TV definitely plays a major role in our category of innerwear and apparels and fashion, because TV, as I see it, leave aside data point, because there are experts who talk on that. TV works as a very, very important power tool, as a visual medium. Of course, the reach is maximum still in India, but if you constantly see a brand ambassador being advertised on TV, it definitely has a top of the mind recall. Believe me, 60 kilometers away from Patna or 40 kilometers away from Gorakhpur, people still go and ask, ek Akshay wala banyan dena. So why? So people are used to seeing dollar Big Boss Fit Hai Boss, the ad, for almost more than 10 years. Akshay has been the biggest, the longest brand ambassador with us for 14 years. So constant harping on their mind. TV has worked a lot, and TV still has a major ad spend in our category.
Thank you for this. There are two very important points over here, which is an always-on brand, and one more point which is very important, that we are always looking at, you can say, lowest CPT, lowest cost per contact, cost per impression, but at the same time you have Khatron Ke Khiladi, you have Big Boss, you have Saregama. So, Kapil Sharma show. So, how do you decide where to put your money? So I'll again come back to Shuchi from Emami, because they have got so many brands, so many and one of the largest spenders from Calcutta. So how does she decide whether to go for efficiency or for impact? Where does she put her money? And do you prefer to put your brand always on, or do you prefer to still maintain that frequency and reach that you spoke about?
Okay, because you mentioned Kapil Sharma. Kapil Sharma has moved from television to Netflix. So
The OTT, because you get your audience when they want to see. So,
yeah, but so
you know.
yeah, the thing is that, and you know, again, this is something that I said earlier. The traditional content on television may not be working as it was, right? And Impact especially has suffered because Impact was Impact because you used to get those kind of ratings, which you no longer get. It's really really come down more than the regular fiction shows, etc. So we're not really huge fans of Impact because it doesn't give you that reach or impact. So we more follow our reach frequency objectives more than the always on, because again, going back to the kind of clutter levels and lower attention spans, the belief is when you are present, you need to have enough weight and enough presence instead of kind of spreading yourself thin and not really having any kind of impact. So that's what we follow.
I'll come to Sarfraz, because in terms of personal care, Sarfraz, do you try to put your budget in terms of a trial of the brand? Because for you it's very important that people try your brand and try to put more of your money into those sort of exercises. Influencer more than traditional media, who will encourage trial of your brand so that you can enhance your reach. Does maximizing reach and frequency work, or trial for the brand work more?
There are many questions attached in one question. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, I think the topic, which is decoding media spends in modern era. Okay. If I want to simplify it, I would rather say that there are established brands. Okay. There are challenger brands, and then there are D2C brands now. Okay. So each one has its own way of planning. Okay. Be it any category. Okay. If I talk about TV, मतलब मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा है TV बेचारा यहाँ कटघरे में खड़ा है and everyone is like trying to prove or kill it. See, TV today has become like an hourglass. Okay. So two major segments are there. There are kids and there are slightly above middle age, older segment. Okay. The youth has vanished. Okay. But listen to it very carefully. It has vanished, but it has not moved seeing the content of television. So probably the same Saas Bahu serial, the young female is now watching on OTT in her free time. Okay. So the shift has happened. Okay. It's not that they're not watching any television content. Otherwise, the shoulder content or you have so many snackable content on OTT. Why and how are they flourishing? Okay. Big Boss, I mean, behind the scene, they're exclusively on OTT. Okay. Splitsvilla. Okay. Then Shark Tank 1, after season 1, they didn't come on TV. It was only on digital, right? MasterChef. I mean, these are examples which started on TV but gradually moved on digital. Okay. Because probably they have realized the audience whom they want to target. Okay. They love the content, but they have moved to a different platform. Now, coming to influencer marketing, okay, see, it's going to be big. I mean, PM Modi, I mean, he has proved National Creators Award. Okay, I mean, that was the first step to bring more people in this kitty. Now, there are specialists, like the way we have ENT and dental and other things. There are specialists like beauty, I mean, influencers, Malvika and Masoom. And then we have travel bloggers and influencers. So each one is doing their own job. Okay, I would actually say that even influencer marketing has moved quite forward. You can't have a category A plan, influencer plan, or a cat B influencer plan. It has to be a mix of your objectives. So if I have to draw a parallel, it is something like Delhi Times versus Gurgaon Times versus Noida Times. Okay, so one influencer can't work for you for all the geographies. So it has gone into that depth, influencer marketing. Okay, now that's one side of influencer marketing, but as we all know, even, I mean, content, there are different ways of tapping your audience in content. Okay, if I go in yesteryears, I mean, when I was not born only, I mean, Bobby, the film Bobby, it showed a yellow-colored Rajdoot. I mean, that was the first brand which came in Indian cinema on a television. Okay, post that, this industry became quite organized. Okay, and according to Google, what I came to know that Coke was the first brand in Tal, which did the in-film integration. Okay, now today there are different ways people are integrating their brand DNA into the content thing. Okay, we at ITC we have partnered with Hoichoi, okay, for our Engage fragrance brand, and made a series on snackable content, which was like Hotat Dekha. Okay, then we did on Amazon Prime, we did Inside Edge. So these are ways which we can tap our audience. Okay, see, there are no clear-cut or shortcuts to reach your audience. That's for sure. You need to understand where are they moving and how do you want to tap them. Even if I move one step ahead, even BTL, as we used to say that its activation is BTL. I don't think so. It's BTL anymore. It's actually a direct, I mean, one-to-one interaction with your consumers. So you should not see it as BTL. You get your first-party data from BTL. Yeah, I mean, that's more powerful than even, I mean, TV, if I have to say, right? So for some of our brands, we do a lot of activations. Like Nimail is one of Calcutta's brand. So we understood the USP of the brand. Okay, we found out one cohort, which is pet lovers and parents of kids. So we are trying to tap them through some activations. Okay, we have moved to South as an important geography for us, and that's working for us. So where we meet them, we get first-party data. So it's actually a culmination of many things, but one thing is for sure, that whatever you do, you have to do, I mean, wholeheartedly. You can't divide your poverty. If you don't have money, do two things, but in a full-fledged way. Otherwise, just doing for a tick mark, I don't think so it will work.
Sarfraz, very nice point you brought up, and I remember an integration that was done by UltraTech, I think by UltraTech, if I'm not mistaken. It was done in Dadagiri, where you promised 25 lakhs for a rural school to the winning team over there. I think so, if I'm not mistaken. Or ACC. Okay. So, but that was done by Cement brand, and they built a rural school. They committed 25 lakhs. So, cement is one category which I think does a lot of CSR. Does UltraTech also do something like that, and does it work for you to put money into CSR, to put money into such sort of integrations, to create something useful for society? Does that also work for brand? Is that part of the media budget, or just go from CSR? Is there any such activity that UltraTech would have done that really impacts the consumer, you know, and builds goodwill?
We have done something similar with KBC, but not exactly the way some other brand may be. And so CSR activities get funded by from the CSR fund. It's nothing to do with the media budget. So because we as a group, it comes from like the AVG thing, and obviously we are very big on CSR. So we have got separate funds, so we don't have to touch our media budgets to fund CSR activities. But since you spoke about this, I think we tried to impact, I think, rural population a lot through our a lot of ground activities, especially during festive occasions. And we have been doing it in a very big manner, especially in East. And I think so Aanton represent UVS, and they are our agency as well. And we have been actually doing a lot of strategy around that, because you get a lot of influx of rural population in the festive occasion. Whether you talk about, say, Bali Yatra in Odisha or Puri Rath Yatra or Durga Puja in Bengal. So we are pretty big and we span very specific campaigns, keeping in mind, because we want to stay culturally relevant. It's very important for a category as well. So it's a category which needs a lot of attention from the rural population at large, and these are festive occasions are very relevant for rural population, other than obviously it's being relevant for urban as well.
Yeah, even I find that our clients are getting a lot of traction from associating with activation, and even you can say even this music festival that are happening now, whether it was your Shreya Ghoshal and last year it was Sonu Nigam. This time I think your Sunidhi is coming. So what are the special activities, if you can tell us, Aanton, that will help us? What are the activities that brand does? A little bit on that, and then we'll come to Shantanu and we can wrap up. I think we are crossing the
I
time.
think the engagement part, every brand would, as Sarfraz was also talking about, every brand would have certain communities to look at, and also certain topics or certain causes, if it's a CSR, or certain areas of interest. So if you really look at going years back, what Harley Davidson did with the riders group, they used to take them out, and it's still there, right? So the brands have to figure out, like UltraTech does it with the Masons and everyone, and even as you said that with Engage and Hoichoi coming together. So as more and more we are getting into this space of content, we have to create niche content. And this is where your events also come into the picture. So if there is a brand which does a lot on, say, fashion, say for an example, Shantanu is there. So he would like to be part of something which is, which has got to do with fashion. So if it's about music, if there's a brand who wants to invest in music and wants to build up that community, I think they should go for music as a program to be a part of. It's just not a media space, but it's more about building your communities and therefore your consumers.
Shantanu, I'll give you a little bit tough one, So where do you see you spending in future? Now you have been spending in a particular format, but where do you want to see a brand tending towards? Whether it's like, creating something like Lakme or Indian Fashion Week, like Aanton is saying, where do you want to pitch your brand coming forward, seeing the current say consumer trend, where you want to shift your budget? Right now we've been talking where our budgets lie, but where would you want to shift your budget in the coming few years?
Sir, honestly, it's becoming extremely tough day by day to, as Sarfraz and Aanton was mentioning, to sharp target. So it's very critical at this moment, pertinent to address the particular target segment, understanding their social activity, their habits, their understanding. That's very critical. Right now, it's very tough to say where we will shift. It's evolving. Hands on my heart, I think every one of us will agree. None of us can say that we are doing things correctly. We are trying to do it correctly. So the strategy will definitely play an important role. As Sarfraz mentioned, BTL say we have shifted to experiential marketing. So every day, it's a challenge. So let's see how things shape up. But the youngsters are definitely a different breed altogether. It's very difficult to address below 30. It's definitely a big challenge, and we have to be relevant. A brand needs to talk so that the consumers can relate to the brand. As Aanton rightly pointed out, it's very important to create your right audience base.
I agree with you, Shantanu. I have seen brands that have taken very low reach medium like TV and cinema and getting phenomenal results, and brands that have reached 90% and yet not got the results. So we could be right, we could be wrong. And I leave the, you can say, the questions to the audience in case you have any questions, because I think at the end of our time, in case there are any questions, we'll answer those.
I think I believe, are running delayed, sir. So if I may request you all that if we can have the questions offline, they're outside there, available in the networking zone. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them in the networking zone, and please give them a bigger round of applause.
No, sorry. There's an AV with Sarfraz. Like to showcase.
Sure.
Yes.
So this campaign is quite close to my heart. It's for Savlon. Probably the heated discussion which we had, and across categories, and the question of division of media budget. So it was a unique campaign. I mean, go through the AV, enjoy it, and I can talk about it offline. Can we have the AV, please?
Let's remove the chairs, please.
India currently has almost 15 million visually challenged people. In spite of being such a huge community, they're always denied of product offerings and media communication that the rest of the Indian population enjoys. Savlon as a brand realized this fact and set its sail towards bringing the much-needed change. We had two missions: to make the visually challenged more inclusive in the media community and to turn the attitude of neglect into acceptance. To accomplish these, we chose mediums that have an active sense of reading. Our intent was to set an example of equality in treatment without glossing over their weakness in society, recognize and accept them for what they are, and offer a fair opportunity to live socially. And what better way to mark the beginning of this change than the World Sight Day? We started off by relaunching our products with Braille-enabled packaging. Extending this gesture on media, we partnered with two leading newspapers, Dainik Savera Times and Vijayvani, to print India's first ever Braille newspaper. With the help of teachers in blind schools, we translated the newspapers in Braille and devised a Braille broadsheet for each publication. Nevertheless, there stood some hurdles along the way. Logistical timelines had to be changed. The printing presses were not equipped with Braille printing devices, and the editors had to choose the final cut by 2 p.m. instead of the usual 8 p.m. The Braille newspapers were printed in selected Braille printing presses. Dainik Savera Times and Vijayvani went beyond their call of duty by distributing the newspapers in blind schools across Mumbai, Delhi, Punjab and Karnataka. For the first time ever, a visually impaired person would wake up to a newspaper they can read. Their belief in our cause made both the publication houses partner with us pro bono for this campaign. We also collaborated with Outlook, a leading general interest magazine, and redesigned their cover and masthead in Braille. With this innovation, the magazine was at a huge business risk, but their belief in our cause proved to be crucial in executing our idea of change. We partnered with Times Now and Mirror Now, two leading news channels, and created India's first ever live headline segment that was anchored by a visually impaired person. This segment was renamed as World Sight Day Headlines.
Makes landfall in Odisha, passes through Andhra Pradesh, at least 3 lakh people evacuated, trains suspended and schools shut. The Me Too movement echoes across India, shakes up influential people right from B-towns to the power corridors of the capital.
And it ran at high frequency throughout the day. To solidify our stance even further, the campaign reached out to 549 million people, covering 40% of Indian population. We reached out to 28 blind schools, engaging with a total of 9,800 blind children. Both the newspaper houses' publications helped us pro bono. This campaign generated organic PR worth 14 crore rupees. Almost 70% of the brand's annual media budget. Trust scores for brand Savlon went up from 51 to 64. But the real change followed after the campaign. Incumbent Finance Minister late Arun Jaitley donated 2.5 crore rupees for the visually challenged. Constitution of India made available in Braille script. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Finance Minister late Arun Jaitley released visually impaired friendly coins in Braille. Visually impaired blind voters got Braille voter slips in national elections 2019, and this actually happened. They say that even without a sight, there is a vision, and our biggest achievement was making the visually impaired realize the vision of India that doesn't discriminate and neglect the disabled.
Wonderful stuff. They say that dream leads to vision and vision leads to execution. That's a classic example of a success story. Please give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Truly, truly wonderful initiative indeed. I'll request all of you to please kindly wait on stage. I'll request Mr. Franklin Toscano, founder and CTO, IWMBuzz Media Network, to join us over here on stage and hand over the token of appreciation to all our wonderful speakers. Please give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, please, if I may request. So much. Thank you so much.